Things got really bad for me. 2014, 2015, a mom of 3 kids, but still drinking daily, using drugs daily, guilt and remorse and lots of shame. Basically got caught using drugs, was sent to a treatment center, and it's been a journey since then.
What's up, everybody? That was tonight's guest, Ahbra Schiff. I am Daniel Unmanageable. This is Hard Knox Talks, coming at you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty 6 territory, and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. Let's bring in Ahbra. Hey, Ahbra.
Hi.
How are you?
Daniel. I made the mistake of having the show on, and I saw the intro.
Oh no! Was it good? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, no, it was good. I just it looks so dramatic.
It is dramatic. We're all dramatic. Us alcoholics and us addicts, we're all dramatic. You know that.
No, I know, but at this point I can laugh at myself. So I mean, it's like it looks seems a little over the top. But yes, it was pretty bad.
Well, we're going to talk all about it. But before we jump in, is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Oh, just thank you for having me on your show. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this talk tonight and hearing more from you too. I'd love to hear a little bit about you and your journey, Daniel.
Awesome. I'm happy. I'm always happy to talk about myself.
Aren't we all? Us alcoholics.
Yeah.
Favorite
all right.
subject.
Let's jump in. Okay, before we dive in, I'd just like to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's live production is sponsored in part by Prairie Sky Recovery Center in Leipzig, Saskatchewan, and the Elizabeth Fry Society of Saskatchewan. Okay, Ahbra, why don't we start at the beginning? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your formative years? How did this all get started?
Oh. Well, I don't think my childhood, certainly my childhood was different than other people's childhood that I've heard of in 12-step programs in AA, or because that's where my sobriety and my recovery is based in 12-step and AA. I also go to other 12-step fellowships, but it's based in the Alcoholics Anonymous. I had the same feelings. I had the feelings of not belonging.
Was there drinking at home?
No, no, actually. So no, I was, I didn't really know my birth father. He was an alcoholic, and addicted to pills. But my mom divorced him when I was about 1.5 years. Of course, there's genetics involved. I didn't the alcoholism and stuff didn't catch up to me until I was in my late 30s, early 40s. Really? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But my adopted father did not drink. Okay. And my mother drank wine, but, and I saw her drunk a couple times, but she was not like a daily drinker. There was not rampant alcoholism in my home. Was there dysfunction? Yes. Were there other compulsive behaviors? Absolutely. My first compulsion, or my first way of dealing with my feelings, was food, and also books, and sort of spacing out. So I already had that ism in me of wanting to not have to feel feelings, and of wanting to be, I guess, numb out and dampen my feelings. I was alone a fair amount, as a lot of us 80s. Well, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 41.
Okay. I'm I'm in a different generation than you.
Mm-hmm.
But we were, I was left at home alone. I got home alone from school, and I stayed there alone for, several hours sometimes. Both my parents worked.
Mm-hmm.
So I, that was my comfort. Food was like my comfort. Television was my comfort, books.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't occur to me, like other people who found alcohol when they were young, it didn't occur to me to do that. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school. I wasn't terribly social. I was very low self-esteem and very self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
But I never, except in college for a little bit, I never looked at, I don't know, it never occurred to me that like, wow, I could drink and feel better. Yeah, in college for a little bit, but I left college after a year because I didn't do very well. And I
Mm-hmm.
came home and I very quickly got married. So I got married at 20. I met my ex-husband at 19.
Mm-hmm.
We're now divorced, but then I was 19. He was a bit older than me,
Mm-hmm.
and I got married at 20 and
So
had kids pretty quickly.
you mentioned that in college or in university, you did some experimenting with alcohol, and like even with that experimentation, even with those experiences, that it never occurred to you like, hey, maybe this is like a relief from my symptoms.
Well, I'll tell you what happened is, yes, I did. It did make me feel, I did feel sexier and more fun, but I
Mm-hmm.
got sick quite often. And then I was telling my daughter the other day, and it was actually at a Halloween party. I drank a lot. I went
Mm-hmm.
to the party with one guy, left with another one. Nothing really happened, but still blacked out. I blacked out. I didn't know what I did, and I had a hangover for 2 days. But somewhere I had heard that blacking out was a sign of alcoholism, and I did not want to be an alcoholic. So I toned down my alcoholism. Now, I don't know where I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was God. Maybe that was just. So I backed off on drinking. Plus, I was so embarrassed.
So you had the
So
wherewithal.
embarrassed.
You had the like you were able to pump the brakes. Was it hard
Yeah,
at that time?
no, and I was able to do it for a long time when I would go out drinking when I was married. I knew I had kids at home. I would stop drinking and start drinking water. I
Huh.
mean, I would go up to the bar and they'd be like, "Can I get you another drink?" "No, can I have a glass of water, please?" And I would drink water so I could drive home and wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever circumstances came about, as part of it was just partying more. My kids were older. We had a little more money, going out with more, just in like a party circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of acting like people do in their 20s, but I had been married and having kids in my 20s. So I
Mm-hmm.
was having that experience sort of in my early 40s.
You're like making up for lost
And
time.
yeah, and my ex-husband was having, we were both having fun, but for me it was like, oh wow, I get to do what I never got to do in my 20s. But it just went too far. In my 20s, here I was, I had 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't fit, right?
Yeah.
Like drinking, staying out all night, doing coke, going to clubs, after hours clubs,
Mm-hmm.
and then having to wake up and be present for my older ones were kind of at college already, but for a child, the day that I was up all night, and then had to drive my youngest 2 hours away to a gymnastics meet at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I wanted to kill myself. I
Yeah.
mean, not really, but that was horrible. And
Yeah.
all I could think of was how much I hated myself.
So this was after you'd already been partying for a while.
I mean, a couple of years, yeah, but it started out slow. It was like, oh, we're just partying, okay, and then a month later, all right, and
Mm-hmm.
I stuck to alcohol for the longest time, and then decided to try the drugs a little bit.
So looking back now, when do you think it started to become problematic?
Well, I can pretty much remember that at the end of I mean, it became problematic earlier. In 2010, I split my head open right here,
Hmm.
um, because I had done so much coke that, um, I don't know, long story, but basically I got up, I fell into my television, the corner of the television. I don't remember
Hmm.
at all. When I woke up in the morning, I walked to the mirror and I saw I had blood everywhere. I didn't even know what I was looking at. I was just like, why is my, what is all this all over my shirt? And I looked at my face. I'm lucky I didn't lose an eye.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm interested.
So
I'm interested to know. Sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. But I'm interested to know how you went from and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, were you working during the time when you were raising your kids? Like, were you like the housewife, the mom type of role? Like, were you working too?
I was no, I was basically mom.
Hmm.
I did do some work. I mean, look, I took care of the kids. I took care of the household.
Hmm. That's a
I
giant job. That's a huge job.
well, I maintained a relationship to have as best I could, like a solid home
Hmm.
for the kids. And I also took care of finances. I did I did do some other stuff outside of the house
Hmm.
for a while. I mean, I did do some other stuff. Um, and then I did work in my ex-husband's office. He was a doctor. Um,
So the reason I'm trying to paint a picture there is because how did you go from having that role and seemingly like in a healthy place in your life to railing cocaine? Like what happened there? Like what was the shift? Was it one day you were just at the
there's
bar and someone said, "Here, try this," or what?
Oh yeah, we were out. I was out clubbing. Um, yeah, and it just was followed naturally after drinking in the circumstances where I was.
Hmm.
Uh, and um, I need a second. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's fine. That's okay. Take your time. So why don't we?
I mean, how it happened was okay. So uh, do a little bit. This is fine. It was not fine. I have an deep sense of shame and guilt. You know,
Mhm.
I start out with a deep sense of shame from the time I'm very young. So when you add to that things to really feel shameful about,
Mhm.
like doing drugs, like staying out all night, like not being present for your child, for me, not being present for my children, being high around them,
Mhm.
things like
So
the shame deepened, and then it was necessary for me. I found it necessary to continue to do more to get rid of the shame, and then I got physically addicted.
Mhm. So was the like so the switch didn't flip right away. Like you didn't do your first rail and you're like, "Oh, I'm home. This is amazing."
No, no, no. It was
Okay.
fun for a little bit, and then no, no, and actually, I ended up becoming addicted to meth. The
Yeah.
To stay
Me
awake,
too.
it was. I just wanted to stay awake,
Mhm.
basically. Um, I couldn't really function that well, but I could stay awake.
Yeah.
Uh, not I couldn't really do that with. Uh,
So so tell
yeah.
us what finally did it? Like was it one circumstance that was like, okay, I need to make a better decision, or were you forced into treatment, or like tell us about the transition from active addiction into recovery.
I was sort of I was caught initially,
Mhm.
and my sponsor my sponsor at the time got me a spot in a treatment center. Uh, I I was pretty we were well off. I mean, I'm still well off, but we were pretty well off. I was living at the beach at the time,
Mhm.
and I was living in an area where there are a lot of treatment centers right on the beach, very expensive ones, and I did not go to any of those. I went to a very I went to more of a low end treatment center. Good program, but
Yeah.
no chef, no massages or private bedrooms
How
or
come?
anything like that. It was great. I'm really glad that's where my sponsor at the time sent me. But I did
Oh, okay.
not go. I did not go quietly. Uh, I took off for a night. I promised I would go the next day, which I'm sure no one believed me because who follows through with that, right?
Hmm.
But I did. I was out all night, but I did go the next day, and I was in detox for 8 days, and I was in residential treatment for 2 months. That did not keep me sober,
Hmm.
um, but 6 months later is when my sobriety date is, and I was out of my mind at that point. I was really between the drugs and between the guilt and the shame and the lying and the hiding and just
Hmm.
having torn myself. I really like tore myself down, with the behaviors and the the drugs too, and then the things that I would do on drugs. It
Hmm.
it all takes a toll. I mean, it takes an immense toll. It took me a long, long time in sobriety to get some stuff to feel like my brain was working again.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot of stuff in early sobriety, like we all do. But I got divorced
Hmm.
the first year.
Oof.
Um, I From treatment, I went to sober living for six
Mm.
months. From there, I moved in with my mom. My older kids my son was in medical school, my daughter was in college, and my youngest one was in middle school. My youngest daughter, which is a
Mhm.
very, very important time for any kid, but for a young lady, a young girl especially.
Yeah.
And I didn't live with her. I didn't really have a place to live. I wasn't able to take care of her full time. I did spend a lot of time with her. I picked her up from school every day,
Mhm.
dropped her off at her dad's, and she spent one night with me at my where I lived at my mom's. But I did my best to be there for her.
Mhm.
But I wasn't. I couldn't. I was just learning how to take care of myself and how to stay sober, and I wasn't able to fully take care of her.
Was there any moments of like in your first year? Now, I always like to shine a light on the first year when I'm having these conversations. Tell us a bit more specifically about like were you going to meetings? Like you mentioned that it was your sponsor that sent you into treatment, so you must have already had some experience with the program before you went to treatment. But when you came
Yes,
out,
yes.
when you came out
When
of
I
treatment, yeah, let's talk about that.
when I came out of treatment, I went straight to a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to meetings, and I had some commitments, but I was still running the show. I was still running the show. I was still trying to control things. With I got mixed up with someone I met in treatment. Like I learned a little bit about myself, which is I really thought I was the victim a lot of times, and I was not. I
Mm-hmm.
was a real um, I was the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
I could be. I don't think I was always, but I could be that like center that pulled everything
Yeah.
around to I could that pulled everything around to me and just made an enormous mess. Um, the last week I went out. I decided that I was so depressed I had to use again when I was in a sober living.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got caught, I made this whole grand thing, and like I texted a bunch of people I knew and said, I'm going out, but I'll be back after the weekend. Like when I look back at it now, like what kind of ego, you know, like to telling all these people
Yeah.
that you know,
I'm just gonna go, like, don't worry, I'll be fine, but I'll see you guys Monday.
oh yeah, I'm doing
Yeah.
this, and I just really need to do
It's
it. But
gonna
I'll
be amazing.
fine. And I don't what the hell was I thinking? I
Yeah.
just wanted people on my side. I could not see my behavior at all. I couldn't see the people I was hurting. I couldn't see the mess that I was making. So by the time that week was out, I had gone to my youngest daughter's birthday high one more time, like coming down off of being high. Like it was not the first birthday that I had. It's not the first of her birthdays that I had been to either high or coming down off of being high or hungover.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 days later, I couldn't take it anymore with like the people that I was with. I was like, I can't, these people are there. I can't be with them anymore.
Yeah.
It was me. It was me that had dragged everybody into this like party that I thought that was no fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, no, it was no fun. Like the party was long over.
Mm-hmm.
Party was long over. And I was the lucky one who had family to support me.
Yeah.
My ex-husband, he wasn't my ex-husband then, but he really stood by me. My kids were on their way out, but they hung in a little bit. So I was done. I'm sure I didn't know I was going to stay sober, right? I'm sure I didn't know what it entailed to really stay sober and work a program.
Mm-hmm.
But I was willing to do whatever anybody told me to. I really was.
So the desire,
to do what anybody.
the desire to drink and to use was lifted?
No, I was gifted the desire to live.
Desperation.
Yeah, I had the gift of desperation. And when I see it in other people, I've been very, very fortunate to work with. I have 3 sponsees right now, but my first 2 my first 2 sponsees especially, they had the same gift of desperation, and that has been like to bond on that to this day, right? You know, I have 6.5 years. They have, over 4 and almost 5, and to still have that gift of desperation and to know that to have no lurking notions.
To have no lurking notions. That's interesting. I've never heard that before, but that's really interesting. Unpack that just a little bit.
It's in the book somewhere, to have lurking notions. Yeah, I think so.
Huh.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe I just heard it in a meeting, but to have no lurking notions that I'm anything but an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. You can't just, I can't just go and do it once like that. That has to die.
Yeah. And one, the idea that I would even want one drink. Yeah. No, I probably would want a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, yeah, maybe I could sit down and have a glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a couple times. But one day, that would turn into a bottle, and that would turn into me trying to store crack somewhere.
Yeah, and then it would be the cheap boxes of wine.
No, it would be the crack.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't fuck with boxes of wine.
I'm sorry. No. I would go straight back to smoking. I'd go straight back to wanting to smoke meth and crack. Like, no, boxes of why?
Yeah.
Why?
How much crack you can buy for a box of wine?
No, but it's like, if I know I'm not going to have fun, so I'm just going to go straight to how quickly can I kill myself? You know, that I don't, there's no in between.
Half measures
right?
avail us nothing.
Right, but I mean, it's either none or everything, and everything's no fun anymore anyway,
Yeah. Party's over.
right? Yeah, that party's over. There's a lot of other fun, great parties, but that party that hadn't been a party in a very long time, yes, that's well over. I love at the end of Dr. Bob's Nightmare, he says something, and I won't be able to quote it right, but he says something like he had long ago given up his right to drink. Like he had, somehow I'm not saying it right, but it's like all my drink, I turned in all my drink tickets. There, I used up all my drink tickets.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's totally, I don't even, I really, no, I don't want to. I don't want to drink, and I certainly don't want to go down the road of hiding in my closet. And, I live alone now. Like, who am I hiding from anyway?
But you're still in the closet.
I mean, I'm,
from
At
Butters.
this point, yeah, no, it's this point, the only person I'm hiding from is either God or myself. And I can't do that either. I have to be honest. In order to grow and to move forward, and in order to grow in life, I have to be honest I have to be able to see where I'm at, right? I have to be able to see where I'm doing well and where I could be doing better. And I have to be honest to my mind, to God.
Yeah. So tell us about your experience with the steps. Did you get into the steps in your first year? Did you get through a full set?
Yeah. I mean, I had to have I had to have a sponsor in the house that I was, the sober living. So I started to work my steps there, and I actually did a 4-step there right after I came back from the last like relapse or.
Your sponsor didn't make you start over?
No. No. I had a different, no, whatever. We'll just like skip it. Too confusing, too long.
Okay,
no, she did not make me. She did not make me start over. I did my 3rd step. No, I just started in. I started writing the 4th step, and I read it to her.
How long did that take? It took me 6 hours to do my step 5. How long did yours take?
Well, I'll tell you about that 5th step. I don't think, maybe it took 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, my sponsor's like, no, go home. We'll finish next week. Like I did it in 3-hour sets.
And then I met a woman about a month later at a meeting that I had been going to regularly. I walked in, I was about 5 minutes late, and I was in tears because the night before that, I had been at a meeting where I was a greeter. Like I had jumped back in, taking commitments left and right wherever I could after I went out. I went to meetings all over. I had commitments all over the place. And my then husband called and said that he wanted me to be aware that I was going to be served with divorce papers. And I had a little over 30 days of sobriety. And our previous conversation had been, don't worry, we won't rush anything. So and it was my middle daughter's birthday also. So I felt like I'd been punched in the face, right? Yeah. Obviously I hold no enmity towards anything anymore. I'm like well over having any resentment or anything over that now. But at the time I was really like, I felt blindsided. And the next morning when I walked into this meeting, I was like crying, and this woman patted the seat next to me, and I sat down, and she held my hand through the whole meeting, and she said, I'm going to call you every day for a week. And I started calling her twice a day, every day. And then when I left sober living, which I got kicked out of because she thought I was drinking, even though I wasn't drinking. So I just, in my early sobriety, I made messes everywhere I went. I was a 47-year-old woman. mother of 3 who had good standing in the community. Kids went to private school, whatever. And I was just like, I was like a teenager.
Mhm.
I mean, like I literally made messes everywhere. Like I said, got kicked out of the sober living. Um,
So you
so when
say,
I
hang
left
on,
sober,
let's just talk about that for a sec. So, okay. So you got kicked out of sober living because they thought you were drinking. Now, why on earth would they think you were drinking?
I um I had a panic attack. I had a freak out and a panic attack.
Mhm.
And I went to the hospital because I couldn't breathe and I couldn't talk. And uh, yeah, and she said, there's something wrong with you. There's something up. I don't trust you. Uh, you know, and
Hmm.
she said, they need to take you need to get your blood alcohol. I'm sending you I want you to go to the emergency room and I want them to check your blood alcohol, right? I want them to take an alcohol test.
Mhm.
So when it came back for some reason, it came back looking like I had it looked like I had alcohol in my system. And um, I knew I hadn't drank. I mean, I knew I had a kombucha or a half of one, which I afterwards never drank again. I was like, I'm never ever doing this again. It's not necessary. But I had been drinking them up to then, and so had
Mhm.
other women at the sober living, right? But I'm the one who got in trouble for it. Um, when my blood alcohol came back, it came back and it looked like I'd been drinking, but I knew I hadn't. So I called the emergency room and talked to them about it. And then I called again and talked to a nurse, and she said, um, that's a baseline. She said, it doesn't mean that you were drinking. She said, that's just like a baseline
Mhm.
so
Hmm.
I went and talked to the woman who ran the sober living, and she didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And she kicked me out again, right? And I stayed at my mom. You had to be kicked out for a week, and then I could go back. And
Hmm.
she wanted me to apologize and admit to drinking, and I wouldn't do that because it wasn't the truth. So I left
Wow.
and I stayed with my mom.
Yeah.
But
Isn't it
I
interesting?
never.
Isn't it interesting to me that and this isn't like a specific thing to the sober living facility that you were in, but I'm talking about, and by and large, many treatment centers. It seems as though they will kick you out for displaying symptoms of your disorder. Like you're there to get help for that, and they're kicking you out because you're displaying the symptoms of the disorder you're there to get help for. It blows me away.
Um, yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't drinking, but I was, um,
Displaying
you know,
behavior.
and I was in early treatment for, I've been just diagnosed with a mental disorder, with like a new mental, whatever, illness, disorder, whatever you want to call it. And,
Mm-hmm.
medication, they were adjusting medications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I was having asthma attacks because there was a bunny and it was so dirty and there was mold. But I was really lucky too. It was in a beautiful part of town. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at all the good sides of,
Mm-hmm.
and she had taken me back 3 months before when I left, on a drug run, and she took me back and welcomed me back. So
Yeah.
I can't stay in resentment. And I can't stay in judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Who am I to judge? I'm really I really don't want to sit in judgment of anybody else. I've done enough things myself, and I'm no better, no worse than anyone else. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as you've got me telling my whole long story and you ask me about the steps,
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And you have me like telling my whole life story. So I met this other woman. She became my sponsor, and she got me right into the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And we read the book together. We read the big book and the 12 and 12. I wrote on it. We did the third step together, and then I started on my inventory. And my inventory, I had a lot on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was, I had a lot. I wrote a lot. I tried to keep it from being an autobiography, tried to keep it brief, but I had a lot of stuff. And because of her schedule and my schedule, and because it was so emotional for me, we did it in 2-hour bits over a summer. So it must have taken about 12 hours
Mm-hmm.
to get out, 12 to 14 hours. And I would cry, I would cry, and then I would have to go back, and it was hard. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
And then we burned it.
Oh, isn't that the best?
And we burned it at a park, and I brought a trash can with me because I thought, I can't just burn it in the park, right? I live in Southern California. It's dry as, it's bone dry everywhere. I'm going to start a brush fire.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the trash can was metal or something, but it broke down, and the smoke was black and toxic smelling, and it was just so perfect for what a 4-step is.
Mm-hmm.
It was just getting rid of all that toxic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it took me about 14 months to do all my steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, very freeing. I loved doing the 9th step.
Mm-hmm.
Even the hard ones, it was exhilarating for the most part, that fear, and then getting it over with and being well received for the most part.
When I did my hardest 9th step, have you ever seen so legend has it that there was a plant in Bill W.'s hospital room where he died, and it's a vine. Have you heard of the plant before?
I think
No,
tell me.
No? Okay, I'll tell you. No. So there's a plant, and when I finished my hardest 9th step, my sponsor at the time, he came to my house, and he had a little styrofoam coffee cup from the meeting, and he had water, and he had this little clipping in it. And he's like, "You did real good, man. Here, I want you to have this. This is, he told me the legend that this is a clipping from the original plant that was in Bill W.'s room when he died. And pick this up, or is it too grown in? No, I can. And here it is. Oh, it's green though, so the green screen's keying it out.
Right, I see.
So, anyways, this is apparently a descendant from the plant that was in Bill W.'s room where he died. So,
what kind of plant is it?
It's a vine, and I can't remember what kind of vine it is. I think it's an Irish. Any idea, Donna? Donna's thinking about it.
It's okay. So it's supposedly from that exact plant.
Yeah, apparently. Like it's probably like a clipping came from that plant, and then someone grew that, and then got a clipping from that, and grew, whatever. But yeah, so that's my 9th step story. Whenever anyone asks me about my 9th step, that's what I say. I've got a plant growing out of my 9th step.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So let's jump forward. Tell us, so what we're here tonight really to talk about is the Real Recovery Film Festival. So I know I told you at the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, we'll spend 15 minutes on your backstory and 15 minutes on your recovery.
Oh my God.
And then we went down went down this path, and I apologize if it was uncomfortable, but now we are here to do, we are going to do what we are here to do. So how did that get started for you?
That got started for me. I started to work. So Leonard Bushell, who's my boss and who's the founder and director of the Real Recovery Film Festival, he started it. This is our 14th year. So he started it 14 years ago, obviously. I was trying to do the math and figure out what year it was. I think it's 2008, actually. Yeah, he started it in 2008. And initially it was so that people in early sobriety would be able to watch films that dealt with issues of drugs and alcohol, but like Hollywood films. So Leaving Las Vegas, Less Than Zero, Days of Wine and Roses. I'm trying to think about one also. The Lost Weekend. One of the first films they showed was Permanent Midnight, which is Ben Stiller starred in it, and it's it's a true story, right? It's based on a book by Jerry Stahl, who was a screenwriter and did children's television, but was also a heroin addict at the same time.
Oh,
So
the
he had
juxtaposition.
films. Yeah, well, we're all dichotomies.
Mm-hmm.
So he had those films, and it was save space to come and watch that and then process the film afterwards instead of walking in to see, and also to still maintain some creativity and enjoy culture without being in fear, right? Because I know that I had that when I was in early sobriety, and I still stay away from certain things, right, that might be triggering to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened over time is that he started to accept submissions of films from other people who were making, people who are making shorts and indie films specifically about addiction and alcoholism for the most part. Also some Al-Anon issues, gambling, shopping addiction, and mental health. And it's just grown. And when I started 5 years ago, I think we had about 65 films. This year, I've programmed 95 films into 7 days, and also some special events. We always have an opening and closing night party. This year, the closing night party we're showing a horror film, and we're doing a costume. I thought that would be fun. It's not sobriety related, the film isn't, but it's a great way to have fun in sobriety, right? Because that's part of it too. And we show some really amazing films. We get these really heartfelt, hard-hitting and thoughtful, honest films about various issues relating to that. It could be over. Doing a whole day that's devoted to opioid awareness, and we have this group coming called End Overdose coming out, and they go around the country and into colleges doing Narcan training and distribution because people are dying. I mean, we know people are dying, but it could be, you could just go to a party.
Yeah.
We just recently had on high school campuses here, over a couple of weeks, kids taking what they thought was an Percocet or Percodan, right? People experiment in college. I mean, in high school, I'm not saying it's right, but you take something you think is like a Percodan, and it's laced with fentanyl because it's off the street. So you need naloxone present.
Yeah, it's not about addiction anymore necessarily, is it?
It's not about addiction.
You can like you're saying, you can just go to a party and for a good time, and now you're overdosing on fentanyl. Let's take 1 quick minute break here. So take a breath. I'm just gonna do a little shout out here. I just want to let the viewers and listeners know tonight that tonight's episode is also brought to you in part by Stronger Together Canada, peer-led support groups by Mom Stop the Harm, and Naranon groups of Regina and Saskatoon. To learn more about our sponsors, get on our email list, check out upcoming streams and more, check out www.hardknockstalks.com. While you're there, help us support the platform and pick up some merch because it is amazing. I am wearing one of our shirts right now. So what can we expect this year when we're looking forward to the Real Film Festival?
Real Recovery Film Festival.
I'm sorry. I have been struggling with that since the first time you and I spoke, and it's been a challenge. So thank you for correcting me.
It's okay. Not just wanna. So the Real Recovery Film Festival, which is in North Hollywood, California this year. We are usually in a few cities, 7 days in New York and 7 days in LA, but post-COVID, we're starting out just in LA this year. Like I said, for 7 days. So what we can expect is, like I said, over 90 films that deal with mental health issues, homelessness, addiction, alcoholism, the opioid epidemic, documentaries, a lot of scripted films, short films. We have a whole block of films on love addiction. Um, we have we have a couple of we have a couple of documentaries that are we have one from Brazil about drugs about not just drug addiction, but about like the history of drugs there. I found it really fascinating. And another one from Italy about psychiatric institutions there and the wow, I'm not making it sound too exciting. Our opening night films are both directed by women, really fantastic women filmmakers. Katie Curran, her film is the feature film that night. It's called Bridge to the Other Side. It's already won awards at multiple other film festivals. Saturday night we have I don't know, we have a lot of great shorts. We have so many films, I don't even know where to schedule them. Like the schedule's already made and it's online at recoveryfilmfestival.org.
Can you put that in the chat?
But we have so many films, so many genres, and I am honestly so excited. I can't wait. And I'm especially looking forward to our costume horror night. I have to go buy a costume.
What are you going to get?
I'm excited well, so I definitely, I feel like I have to do something film, right? I owe it to the film festival to have a film, to wear a costume that comes from a film. So I'm thinking Bride of Frankenstein.
I was going to say, what about Elvira? Remember Elvira?
Yes. So
yes.
Bride of Frankenstein, Elvira, or if you're at all familiar with the film Sunset Boulevard, the old film with Gloria Swanson and William Holden. It's from the 50s or 60s. I've always wanted to be Norma Desmond, but you may have to look that one up to see.
Maybe.
She was like a half crazed old silent movie star who's like in her, she's out of her heyday. Like she's past her prime, but still trying to look it. Anyway, yeah, so it's kind of a labor of love for me. The filmmakers mean a lot. I know that their work is from the heart.
Yeah.
It means a lot to them. The subject matter is either close to their heart because it's affected them, right? Like either they might, the person might suffer from, one of our films is about bipolar disorder. So the screenwriter might suffer from bipolar disorder, or maybe a family member does. Or if the film is about suicide, we have one film about suicide, and the woman who's coming out with the film, her name is Randy. It was her nephew who died, who killed himself, right? And so people are really, they put their heart and soul into the films. And they travel across the country to come out and speak after them and to support the festival and in honor of the work that they're doing and the subject matter that it is.
So
right?
Did you see this coming? So when you were sharing your story with us, I didn't hear anything about film. I didn't hear anything about a passion for film. For me, I was sharing with you a little bit before the show, I'm a welder, and like a year and a half ago, I started doing this and I barely knew how to open a Word document. So was this a surprise to you that you do you have a passion for film now, or do you just like being of service to this community?
I met Leonard in a meeting and I was looking for a paying job and he was looking for someone to help with, like an office manager kind of person. But he also needed help with the film festival and with some other stuff. And now I'm interested in that side. I definitely was interested in the film festival side. You know, I grew up here in LA. I grew up on the west side of LA near West Hollywood and Beverly Hills. So I've grown up around movies and people in the industry my whole life. So it wasn't completely foreign at all, right? You know, I grew up watching movies. I took film in high school. Not that I wanted to be a filmmaker, but yeah, it was always something. It was always something important to me, but I lost so much when I was using.
Yeah.
Like I stopped watching movies, right? I grew up watching movies, old movies and everything with my mom. She introduced me to all of the old films that she loved, and I would watch black and white films. And so I loved film. But I lost so much when I was using. Yeah, I let go of so many of the things I liked, and it's taken me time to build it back. Yeah. I don't know, did that happen to you?
Well, I mean, I am reminded of a story that just recently happened with my partner here, actually. We had a guy on last week by the name of Guy Felicella, and he was talking about remembering where our passions are, remembering what we liked to do before everything went sideways. And it wasn't until he was sitting in a counseling session and he's like, I don't know what to do with my life. And the counselor said, well, what did you like to do before? You know, and that just like clicked for him, right? And then he's out doing all these things and he's like, oh yeah, I did love this. And like, it just seems so silly that, you know, I had to be reminded. And after that episode, my partner, she's sitting over here. I know you can't see her, but Donna.
I saw her before. She's lovely.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes. She is lovely. And she.
I like how you're taking credit for it.
Yes.
When you say partnered, she's your work partner. She's your life partner too.
Life partner.
She's like
yeah. I could call her my wife, but we're not married. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
So
I understand.
Yeah. So she went out and after hearing what Guy had said, she was out shopping for, I'm not even really sure what, but suddenly she's like, you know, matching colors on different things. And it came back to her that she really loved interior decoration, you know, and she came home with like big bags full of stuff from the dollar store and decorating the house with like, you know, like fall stuff and Thanksgiving stuff. And she like, you know, it was, so what you're saying there is that really resonated with me. I don't know. Do you want to throw something in here? We're talking about you. Oh, she can't hear. Oh yeah. Cause she doesn't have what she hears is about 30 seconds behind what we're actually saying right now.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyways, that's my story to go along with what we were saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're sort of coming to the end here.
Okay.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about? Anything that you want to bring awareness to? Anything you'd like to leave us with tonight?
No, if anybody is in the LA area and would like to learn more about the film festival, even, I would like to say that we give away a lot of tickets to the community, to the recovery community. You know, we do sell tickets. We have, we're supported mostly by sponsorships. So some of our sponsors are the Guest House, Ocala, Western Recovery. We have a couple of film companies this year who we're supporting, which I think is great. Rising Act Films and a production house in LA. So that's how we're supported, and that's how we are able to give out tickets to sober livings in our area, residential treatment centers, outpatient centers, because we wouldn't want to turn anyone away. And we also want to give the opportunity to people in early recovery or who have come, you know, who are going back through whatever, to see films and to engage with. We always engage with the audience afterwards. We have a clinician speaking this year. I have several different. The filmmakers always come out with their films and speak, you know, and answer questions about it. So it gives the opportunity for people to engage with filmmakers, with me or with Leonard, with a clinician, with the overdose people that are coming out. And there are a lot of people in our area who are interested in film and in creativity and in culture. So, like losing how we sort of lose our passions when we're using and drinking and we get down that dark path.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to something like a film festival can open it back up. And what film does, I believe that I can relate to a story in a different way that I relate to just hearing someone talk, right? I'm talking right now, I'm talking about my story. One of the great things about 12-step or about AA or about whatever is you hear someone's story and you react to that. But in a film where you're not just hearing, you're seeing, there's music, there's a whole world there. I can relate sometimes in a way that I can't relate just hearing someone talk, right? It'll resonate. And I might, people can relate in a different way to the problem, maybe see it, and maybe I can see something in myself that I wouldn't otherwise notice.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe film is so powerful in telling these stories.
Awesome. Okay, well, we've got one comment here coming in. We had a whole conversation happening here in the chat, but I don't think we're gonna get too much into it. There was some stuff going on here. Anyways, let's see. We got Barb, my friend Barb. Barb says, "This is so awesome. Thank you for all you're doing to support the whole community." So, and she says Permanent Midnight is a brilliant film. It's interesting. All of the some of the films that you were listing off there earlier, I'd never heard of them, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to write those down. I might have to go and watch some of them. When I think about
did you ever see Less Than Zero?
No.
With Robert Downey Jr. and it's a classic. It can be a tough watch, but
yeah.
It's a really good one. It's from the 80s.
We've got Anita saying, "Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. I really appreciate this." So I believe Anita.
You guys.
Yeah, I believe she said she was coming in from Florida. But have you ever seen the movie 28 Days with Sandra Bullock?
I actually haven't seen that, and I know that's great, and I should see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, I guess that's it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us, and like Anita said, thank you for. And we've got one more. Dana says, "Thank you for sharing and finding ways to be loud in the community. You get submerged into the characters with film." Yes, Dana.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
Best wishes with the upcoming festival. I hope it goes off stellar. And I look forward to seeing the outcome.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate this time.
Yes.
Time spent with you. Okay.
Take care, Ahbra.
Take care. All right. Bye.
All right. That's it. Give us a like. Tell everyone about us. We